specifically when it comes to storytelling in your writing, do you have any big influences, whether they're musical or even just completely separate from music, someone who's a writer?
I have a lot of influences for sure. I mean, I listen to so many different types of music, but the classics too, like Joni Mitchell. Ani DeFranco is actually a big influence on me.
I'm not familiar.
Ani is she's worth checking out. She's a great songwriter and a sick guitar player. And she was doing it in the 90s, in the early 90s, when she started. She's coming to the Bearsville Theater in August.
Oh yeah.
But she, for me it was she just had a way of writing that was, it was always very personal. Not really story stuff when it came to her, but just her way of writing and playing was a big influence on me. And I always had my dad in my ear too. He was like, try to write a song without saying I or me. Or, you don't have to make it about you all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, nobody wants to hear you whine about your little bullshit.
Yeah, what would the guy with both his middle fingers up be telling you to write about?
Yeah. But you gotta, so that, that was an interesting challenge. I did, try to write some songs without, using myself in the song, but then I don't shy away from it either. If that's what wants to come out, that's what comes out. And then there's the what I was explaining before of just doing it from a more musical place of just kind of mumbling and like, I'm hearing this melody, I'm not sure what the words want to be, what shape feels right, you know what I mean, and then letting my brain kind of listen peripherally, and finding, jotting down phrases and seeing what comes out. And then it kind of surprises me. And then it's like my interpretation is actually really not that much more valid than anyone else's. You know what I mean? Because it sort of came out of this less sort of frontal lobe kind of place. It's more, open to interpretation. And, I try to write in a bunch of different modes.
Yeah, that makes sense when I think about your catalog, because like there's things that are like, we talked about this on this podcast with other people. I'm melody first.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can remember it takes me hundreds of plays to get to the lyrics of something, and when you realize I think we were talking about Fagin. Because the melodies are so incredible, the harmonies are so deep, and then you check the lyrics out and you realize sometimes it could be about nothing at all. It's still incredible. But when I was like, you strike me as someone who writes from a lot of different inputs. Like some things sound autobiographical, but other things sound like you strike me as someone who's read like The Lord of the Rings and fantasy kind of stuff, but maybe not. But that I get that.
Sure,
I get that kind of vibe as well. It's still the same kind of melodic content, always melodic. Like I didn't hear anything where I thought of anything other than also the pocket that you're singing. So like other than the melody and the time, there's not much going on. But it's incredible to me the amount of different, like some players just write from a standpoint of loving one another, being loved, loving someone, but you can go on a whole other journey that's amazing to hear with your sense of melody that you're able to pull from all those different things.
Now, are there any like writers or speakers or anyone like that who have influenced like your concept of telling a story, whether it's verbally or through music?
Oh boy, well, I mean, I'm sure.
Well, of course there, but like,
yeah.
In particular, is there like a heavy hitter or a specific lesson that you got out of someone, like they were doing something that?
Well, my first job, I was working in a gas station when I was 15, and at this gas station, it was kind of run down, and it was like there was a really nice Mobil across the street, so nobody really came to this gas station. And the same people that own the Mobil owned this place, and it was just, they owned it just so that no one was competing with their Mobil, really. But it still had gas and like some chips and stuff. But yeah, one day I was just, we were often just sitting there looking for stuff to do, and there's this like weird desk, and I just I was like, what's in there? Like it was just kind of like this wooden thing, and I'm just reaching in. I can't see. I'm not sure what I'm feeling, and then I'm like, that feels like a book. Like, what is this thing? And I pull this thing out, dust it off. It's this book. It's got no cover. I don't know who it's by. And I was just like, I just started reading it because I was working there. And it turns out the book was called Dahlgren. It was written by Samuel R. Delany, who was kind of like the first big African-American science fiction writer. And this was written, I think, back in the 60s. And it was a really amazing book. I mean, but really all over the place. The writing is beautiful. Like, the writing is unlike
So you happen to be working at a crappy gas station.
Yeah. How did this book get in there?
And you pull out what turned to be a life-altering kind of... That's insane.
Yeah. Just the way the words he used, it just hit me. I was just right at that age where I was creative enough and like, damn, this guy's blowing my mind. It's like whatever he describes. And the story wasn't linear. It was a 900-page book, but I didn't get the beginning because it was ripped off. So I just I jumped in, but I got sucked right into this story.
Wow. I got to check this book out.
And the thing about this book is that, it's mystery after mystery, and you're like, fuck, I need to know, like, what is the story behind this? And it's one of those things where you never find out.
Wow.
And some people at the end of the book are just filled with rage, because I saw some of the reviews, like when I got into looking around, that, they had invested so much. Wow. But it taught me a lot. It was like, no, it's really about that feeling of that excitement that you want to know. It's like creating that is really powerful. And I think it just had a big impact on me on how I write. And, I read some more of his work, and, just a great writer that I wouldn't have discovered otherwise. And the wildest thing is that the book just like kind of, it becomes a journal that the main character is writing towards the end. Okay. And it's just kind of like haphazard. And then it's just writing, and it never finishes the sentence. So it ended incomplete, just the way it started for me, which was incomplete. What? And then I finally bought the book for the full thing. And the wildest thing was that the incomplete last line wraps around to the first line of the book. The book starts incomplete. It starts mid-sentence.
Wow. So it's like a Tarantino movie.
I was thinking like The Sopranos when you were saying like the unresolved questions and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I still haven't seen the last season of The Sopranos, but everyone says like the ending is like unresolved like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's just, I don't know if you guys got into the show Lost.
No.
He did I forget his name who wrote that, but
J.J. Abrams was
and he did another show after that I kind of got into, where people would just disappear, like it was like the same, but like nothing is resolved. It's just this, you're living with a void, and this is what happened. But I know that I never got into Lost, but I probably should.
Lost was similar. People got very invested in all these mysteries, and you're like, I can't wait for this to get resolved. And the resolution was terrible. It just sucked. And it was just like, I wish it was never resolved, because nothing was going to be as good as what I was imagining. You know what I mean? And the way mystery can inspire you. So, just a similar sort of thing there.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's funny, because when I think of the way your tunes unfold, you're not writing about the tune resolving. You're writing about the emotion of whatever it is but it doesn't have to resolve. It clearly doesn't have to resolve, but that's cool that you're able to do that in your writing. It doesn't surprise me at all that you're saying that. You're a fan of that.